So I've been talking about low value women for a while. I think it's only fair I talk about a low value man, just in case people start to think that I am a misogynist. So I was going across the internet, this story came to my feed about a husband that is at the verge of death, is demanding that his wife sign over 20% of her own personal property to him, or else he'll file a divorce and take half of it instead. Now, this couple decide to send in a letter, well, more like the wife, specifically just the wife, to an article writer anonymously because, well, it's the wife just doesn't want her husband to know that she's sending a story like this because it's a personal issue, and if the husband were to hear it, he will definitely file for divorce and take half her house. So the property she was talking about is her house that she essentially paid for with her own income, separate from her husband. She already owned this house before she married her husband. Now, reading into the story, this couple sound like they are relatively old, or like the husband is relatively old. Although it didn't disclose the age, apparently the husband has an adult daughter. And if your daughter is an adult, that would basically indicate you're at least 30 years old, or in this day and age, 40s and maybe 50s. Now, why would this guy demand that he get 20% of a house all of a sudden? Well, it starts with him being a low value male. I know some people get sick of hearing other people put value on other people's worth, but if you look at the situation and any other situation of any other relationship, you'll realize that one of the individual in the relationship is pulling more work than the other, or one couple looks significantly more attractive than the other. I know it's crude to make judgments, but that's generally the gist of it. Generally, I would side with men for things like this, but because a man did wrong, I am siding with a woman in this case, because it seems like the woman is working and the husband is a stay-at-home husband. He's also probably old as fuck, considering he has an adult daughter that he cannot rely on, because according to this article, he has a liver disease that came from excessive drinking, which is another bad quality of a male. I don't condemn people that do drugs occasionally, but I do hate the idea that they are doing it so much that they got a liver disease from overindulging in alcohol. This is another trait that makes this woman's husband a low quality male. He is overvaluing his worth, thinking that he is for some reason worth 20% of his wife's house, and he is using divorce and the risk of taking 50% if she doesn't sign the 20% of her house to him. I mean, this lady has my sympathies for being married to a prick like this, but honestly, this is kind of her fault. So I talked about it in the past. If you have watched my videos, that dating a single mom is not a good idea, although it can lead to some fun adventures as they are quite explorative in some areas. However, if you're trying to settle for the long term, it's a risky maneuver. I'm sure that there are good single moms out there, that I don't deny it. However, when they are single and they are still holding on to their old bad habits, which is this husband's drinking in this case, usually that's a red flag. And just like this husband, it seems he has a drinking problem. For some reason, this higher value woman wants to date a single dad with a drinking problem. And it seems like he is leveraging relationships to acquire more wealth, which is a pathetic stunt to pull. Now, this situation occurred in Florida. I don't know much about divorce laws in Florida, as each state has different regulations that involve marriage. That's why you'll see some people that are rich in LA, they will go to a random state like Tennessee to get married to protect their assets without asking for a prenup. But I think if this guy were to divorce his current wife, depending on how long they are together, he could actually end up taking half her property. This is why I tell people to sign a prenup if they were to have a significant difference within their wealth. It's also a good idea to consider signing a prenup if they know the couple for not too long and decide to get married. When I say not too long, I mean 5 years. 5 years is, strange as it sounds, is a lot of time, but also not a lot of time. Now, I'm not a maniac that believes that every couple should sign a prenup. However, if that partner has not been with you during your low points, you should consider a prenup. Odds are this woman was blinded by either lust or love. which is why she married this toxic male. I believe male should have the same approach as well. They should have a prenup if they're going to marry a toxic female, but people have such low self-esteem and they don't believe that they could find a better partner. Now, as for my word to the wife of this shitty situation, or to anyone that is dealing with this, first, you should screen your future spouse to make sure that they don't have any dog shit habit like alcohol addiction or any kind of drug addiction. If they do, don't even bother marrying them, because generally people with drug addiction are pretty selfish people. I say selfish because people that are indulging in their own addictions are usually living in their own world and they care more about their own pleasures than the well-being of their families. I know because I experienced this myself, that someone I knew much rather indulge in her addiction than to take care of her family. So if you are to marry someone with a big problem, ask for a prenup. And if they don't want to sign a prenup, then you explain to them why you need a prenup. You cannot just blindside them with a prenup. You gotta sort of explain why, because you'll be surprised to hear that a lot of people don't know what's going on. They don't really have common sense to understand other people outside of their perspective. So it's always fair to explain a process or explain your reasoning as to why you're taking certain actions before before assuming that they just know what you want. And you could show them statistics as to marriages ending in 50%. I don't know, generally people with common sense will understand and they will sign a prenup, assuming that it's a fair prenup, like you have huge disparity in wealth. And if your future spouse don't want to sign a prenup, that just means you both cannot be a couple. Simple as that. Because if money or asset or equity is a reason why your spouse or future spouse wants to be with you, then that relationship will not work out, because having a relationship purely built on finances is unreliable. You see, as men get older, we need to rely on our spouse to take care of us. As women get older, they need to rely on their husband to take care of them. It's kind of a teamwork based relationship. But if, there are people with low self-esteem and they want to gamble on blind love, honestly, I don't even know what to say to those people. They can go for it. But those people also suffer from the 50% statistic. And when they lose half their shit, they just started crying. Just like this woman she believes that her love is legitimate, which I'm sure it is, considering she married a guy with a drug problem. She ends up getting backstabbed from her husband and is being held hostage, basically. No matter what relationship you're in, there will always be some small amount or big amount of disparity in income. Don't throw a prenup in your fiance's face, as that really doesn't raise your value as high as you think. And with that being said, I said enough. If you like watching my content, subscribe to my channel and I'll upload more videos next week. Toodles!